You know, you can't turn back the hand of time. I was looking for recognition, I was looking for, love. I tried to cut my neck open in jail with glass. I've cut my hands, I've OD'd. I drank 50 mils of liquid G, which is enough to probably kill a horse. Everything I did before I started drugs, I was good at, and apparently was also very good at taking drugs. I went from being a straight A student to almost failing dismally, and I didn't care at that point. I always felt like I could be somebody I wasn't when I was on drugs. I couldn't not go without a fix. It feels like you're dying. It feels like your body is about to shut down and you literally would do whatever it takes to get that fix. They came back 14 guys looking at me with okapis, bottle corps and bricks, and they came past me. I got onto my knees and I prayed to God, and I said, if you are real, you will help me out of this situation. My name is Ryan Goebel, and I'm 25 years old. I originally got wrapped up in drugs in high school. Started smoking weed at the age of 14. It filled that part of me that was searching for something more in life, something more than being a straight A student, A-team sports player. No matter what I did, everything I did before I started drugs, I was good at, and apparently was also very good at taking drugs. When I started smoking weed, I lost all interest and hope in school and in myself, my abilities. I went from being a straight A student to almost failing dismally, and I didn't care at that point. People like to say, weed is not a gateway drug, it's a gateway drug, because I ended up on all the drugs after that. So I had my first line at the age of 15. I always said it was going to be a natural thing. You always say that until you find yourself around with the line on the table and everyone's doing a line, and then you want to try it because you're interested. You see the euphoria that they feel. You see these guys feel, they feel so good about themselves. They're having a good time. I felt rejected everywhere I went. I always felt like I never fit in. So I got in and fit in everywhere I could in life, which I never ever was myself. And drugs made that so much worse. I always felt like I could be somebody I wasn't when I was on drugs. You don't realize what you're doing until later on in life. You start at a young age thinking you're just having fun, but meanwhile you're busy throwing your life away one little step at a time. It started as a recreational thing. I started using it to fit in, and then it became something I felt I needed because my head wouldn't release the endorphins by itself. I wouldn't feel normal without it. My father actually committed suicide on Christmas when I was 2 years old, and was part of the church heavily, and I was scared of Christianity because I didn't believe it. My father not being there, my mom had made some bad choices with boyfriends, very abusive boyfriends. So from a young age, I saw a lot of violence and I was exposed to all of this. I went to 3 high schools. I got kicked out of all 3 of them. When I was in my last high school, my mom tried to kill herself. It really, it hurt because I was doing so well and I thought, I'm getting my marks back up, things are going to go well. Didn't happen, so I turned straight back to drugs. Thought it would make my life so much better. I started drinking a lot and I started taking drugs, started snuffing cats. Got expelled anyway. My mom took me out of school. Didn't want it on my record, so she took me out, shall I say. And then kicked me out of the house the same day. I was 17 years old. Luckily my sister had moved over from America at the time, and she offered me to go stay with her and her boyfriend, which I ended up using more drugs. I had my first 7-8 day binges at the age of 17. Was up for days, my point where I couldn't speak, my tongue, because moving my lips so much, couldn't speak properly. I lost my weight, diminished. I found myself even kicked out of there because I was bartending, I was partying. Instead of bringing money home, I brought girls home. I just spent all the money on drugs and having fun because I thought that's what I deserved. I smoked my first Nyaupe joint then, and then I started losing everything. From there, it went downhill. And I stopped it very quickly actually at that point because I was really scared. First time I smoked it, I coughed up blood. Yo, I smoked it and it made me feel so high that I didn't know whether I was coming or going, you know? And it was cheap, I didn't have money. I lost the jobs because of the drugs I was doing, because I just, you know, I started getting skinny. I started becoming unreliable. You know, I stopped pitching up for my shifts. After being on the streets for 8 months, I lost everything. I lost my jobs. I lost my family. I started everything from my mother. And begging on the streets, I was begging at the robots. Never thought I'd do that. I was sleeping in the bush next to Northgate with another fellow addict who, I slept next to him because, you know, I could watch his back, he could watch my back. And I had fought with a couple of, or 3 of the other heroin addicts that were living in the bush there. They tried to jump me and I beat them pretty badly. And they came back 14 deep looking for me. I mean, which was 14 guys. They came back 14 guys looking at me with okapis, bottle corks and bricks in the middle of the night. And something funny enough that day said to me, after I'd had that fight, said to me, I need to make myself scarce. And I never slept that night. I never took my drugs that night. Because if I'd taken my drugs and just gone to sleep where I'd normally lay my head, I would have had a brick dropped on me, I would have been stabbed in my sleep, I would have been probably brutally murdered. And they came past me. You know, they came like literally like 4 meters, 5 meters past me in the bush. I was sitting in a blanket, I was scared. I got onto my knees and I prayed to God. And I said, if you are real, you will help me out of this situation. But that day I'd stopped from 15 bags of heroin a day to 2 bags of heroin. And the very next day, a man I never knew offered to get me into rehab and said he'd find a place for me because he'd seen me begging at the robots. And I came here for the first time at about 55 kilos, size 28 pants were falling off me, unrecognizable to my family members. And I just got into the Word, and I had faith in God, and I had faith in myself for the first time in my life since I could remember. And I knew that I had a purpose in life, and I knew that I was here to help people, because there's no ways that I would be alive today, and if it wasn't for God. I should have been dead. I should have definitely been dead. I put my family through so much, and you know, from them wanting nothing to do with me, you know, I've got my family back now. You know, like I've got them in my life. You know, the regrets that I felt, it just set me down a worse road. You know, because I never forgave myself for that. Up to the point I actually came to redemption. It was the first time I started forgiving myself for things that I'd done in life and realizing that I had to move forward and not sit and live in my past. God helped me get better. And redemption was the place that introduced me to God. There's no ways that a heroin addict doesn't just smoke or take their hit at night, their night hit. If you ask any heroin addict, they'll tell you that the most important hit is their morning hit and their night hit. Everything else in between is just a hustle and a bonus. It gets to that point where you need it to survive. Your body shuts down without it. And that night I didn't smoke it. I went through the withdrawals. I sat there so scared because I knew the type of people that were coming after me. Now I'm 25 years old, and the destruction that I've left in my path due to what I've done in life is immense. And you know, you can't turn back the hand of time. You know, I can only go forward from now. But if my life story helps anybody not do what I've done, then this is why I'm telling it.